Because we know that Putin has not changed and will not change. He is a predator. In the last 25 years, he started 4 wars.
At least 250 Russian soldiers a day are being declared missing or dead by the courts, equivalent to the declared daily losses of the Russian army at the front. Although at least 50,000 men are missing, the Russian government is doing little to help relatives. Mediazona and Meduza report that by the beginning of August 2025, families of missing soldiers had filed about 50,000 claims to declare their relatives dead, so that they can obtain compensation. The vast majority of the missing are indeed likely to be deceased. The number of missing is almost certainly far higher than 50,000 due to a number of factors highlighted by Russian war blogger Anastasia Kashevarova. She complains that even now, the Russian military does not have a proper system for tracking them. There is still no system for searching for missing persons, and there is no single verified database. There are many problems in this issue, as it affects all aspects of the activities of the Ministry of Defense. 1. Lack of and low level of evacuation. The problem of missing persons is directly related to the problem of evacuation. The wounded need to get to the evacuation point, which is sometimes several kilometers away, and 300 missing turns into 200 dead. Evacuation is further complicated by a serious shortage of personnel at the front. There are very few evacuation teams. Evacuation teams are sent into combat. And as troops advance, there is also the problem of collecting bodies. They are left lying there because the fighting must continue and there is no one to collect the bodies. 2. Inaccessibility of evacuation. Often, bodies cannot be evacuated because they are located in territory controlled by the enemy, and the news reported that we had taken the settlement, but in fact we had not. Either the bodies are mined or they lie under rubble and require special equipment, but as soon as the equipment arrives and work begins, enemy drones and shells arrive. 3. Lack of coordination between the Ministry of Defense, military registration and enlistment offices, military police, the Military Prosecutor's Office, and the Defenders of the Fatherland, FZO, a Veterans and Families Support Organization, and the absence of a unified database, an integrated support system, and service. On any given day, a soldier's family may receive 3 to 4 different statuses about him. In service, missing in action, killed in action, captured, AWOL. Also, the agencies do not delve into each individual story. It is not difficult to do. The main thing is desire and skill. The 3 of us can handle it. The Human Rights Ombudsman and military police consider the dead to be prisoners of war, while military units recognize soldiers in captivity based on deepfakes. The Ministry of Defense hotline operates completely separately, is extremely difficult to reach, and even if you do manage to get through, the percentage of assistance and reliable information you receive from them is close to 0. 4. Lack of well-coordinated work by government agencies with the families of participants in the special military operation. The problem is not only in the military registration and enlistment offices and military units where people are sent, they are not given an explanation of the procedure when a soldier's status changes to missing, captured, or killed. Civilian authorities could also help with this. But no one knows this procedure. There are no instructions. In the FZO, in military units, in military registration and enlistment offices, in the MFC, Multifunctional Center, local public service provider, in the SFR, Social Fund of Russia, brochures on the procedure for each situation need to be distributed. When signing a contract, they should immediately give the soldier a brochure on what to do if something happens. 5. Families' reluctance to go to the authorities. 90% of those who contacted us about missing persons did not go to the military registration and enlistment office, did not obtain an extract from the order on the soldier's status, and did not submit DNA samples. Many do not even know the soldier's military unit and division. And those who know or have found out dump all the data into the public domain. An infantile authority that remains silent breeds an infantile society that does not want to follow the legal system but looks for easy shortcuts, so that someone else will do it for them. People are illiterate in this regard, and they are also confused. A man went to the military registration office, mumbled something, was sent away, and went to consult fortune tellers, fake lawyers, swindlers, and the enemy. Everything that is currently being done to inform and protect the rights of the population since the beginning of the special military operation is the service of civil society. The authorities are not just breathing down our necks. They are lagging far behind in this regard, showering the poor with money and privileges, which is backfiring on the state. We need to get things working, provide ideological education, build all the structures, and it's time to stop being jealous that volunteers are doing better in some areas and start involving them in this work. New satellite imagery confirms Ukraine's strike on a Russian border outpost near Voloshyne, west of Armyansk, according to the Crimean Wind Monitoring Group. The barracks were completely destroyed, with one Russian serviceman killed and several wounded. 6 Kivas-class hovercraft were also reportedly destroyed. Chancellor Merz warned that the war in Ukraine could last much longer, stating, "We are trying to end it as soon as possible, but certainly not at the price of Ukraine's capitulation." He stressed that while the war could end tomorrow if Ukraine surrendered, that would only invite further aggression. The next country would be targeted the day after, and soon after it would be us. That is not an option. Ursula von der Leyen and Donald Tusk have arrived at the Polish-Belarus border to discuss security issues.
We need to stay consistent and determined in investing in our defense posture. We have to keep this sense of urgency because we know that Putin has not changed and will not change. He is a predator. In the last 25 years, he started 4 wars: Chechnya, Georgia, Crimea, and the full-blown invasion in Ukraine. We know by experience.
The U.S. is considering creating a specialized military unit to respond quickly to global nuclear proliferation threats. The initiative was voiced by Henry Sokolsky, Executive Director of the Non-Proliferation Policy Education Center, Breaking Defense reported. The idea gained attention following statements by President Donald Trump on preventing the spread of nuclear technologies. Secretary of State Marco Rubio later met with IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi to reaffirm Washington's position. Following strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, officials saw a need to consolidate non-proliferation efforts into a systemic rather than one-off approach. Consistency, they argue, will determine U.S. credibility in this area. Historically, Washington has acted inconsistently. Under Presidents Ford and Carter, the U.S. blocked plutonium processing in South Korea, Taiwan, and Brazil, while adopting a softer stance toward Pakistan, India, and Iran. Iraq was an exception. The U.S. destroyed its nuclear facilities and imposed strict controls. Subsequent agreements with North Korea and Iran, however, appeared inconsistent, suggesting a willingness to compromise rather than strict enforcement. In June, the Trump administration drew a red line by banning Iranian nuclear fuel production. Experts say Washington must respond similarly to other countries pursuing nuclear programs. Saudi Arabia is a potential concern. The U.S. is negotiating a nuclear cooperation agreement with Riyadh to allow uranium enrichment, while Saudi officials have warned they may develop nuclear weapons if Iran succeeds. Another risk is Iran potentially leaving the NPT, similar to North Korea in 2003, which developed its own bomb within 3 years. Whether the Trump administration would act to prevent a repeat remains uncertain. The bombing of Iran's facilities set a precedent and temporarily halted its program. Officials say Washington now has a chance to make this a long-term strategy. The initiative calls for a non-proliferation control unit to coordinate with other commands, staffed with analysts, and given access to intelligence outside traditional channels, including from Israel and the IAEA. The second component would be rapid response military assets, primarily bombers with penetrating munitions capable of striking nuclear targets globally. Creating the force would require reallocating STRATCOM resources and would likely face internal resistance. Officials say, however, that if counter-proliferation is a White House priority, military structures must be adapted to the mission.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.